Oh my God, she's selling one.
Nice. Hey, 100% profit right there. She didn't spend any money for the materials.
No, if anything, she spent our money.
Exactly what I'm saying. She knows the best way, use other people's resources.
Now I feel even worse. I was poo-pooing the whole idea, going, oh, she's just going to sit down there and get bored. And then, like, she's out there for 2 minutes and sells one. Am I too cynical? When I was growing up, like, my dad, he considered himself a salesman. I mean, he sucked at it, but he considered himself a salesman, right?
Yeah.
And to him, it was the epitome, right? It's like you work for yourself and you sell, and that's what only the greatest people do and can sort of conjure money. I remember the first time I read Death of a Salesman, I'm like,
yeah,
my dad.
Weird American dream of being your own boss.
There are a lot of people right now that don't want to be their own boss. Yeah. They're doing it because there are no jobs. They have to go freelance.
They don't have a choice.
Nothing's gonna change my clothes ever anymore.
How's the week been?
Catherine's car got totaled.
Was she in it?
No. It was parked on the street.
Someone ran into her car?
Yep.
Oh my God.
They had a big moving truck. They like backed into it. So we got a new car last weekend.
Oh, nice.
And then the boys had their first football games this week, and John Henry messed his hip up real bad. He's on crutches and he might have a groin tear.
So is he out for the season?
We're not sure yet. But other than that, it was a pretty unremarkable week. How about yours? How was your week?
Anthea started school on Thursday. So this was the first full week. She got a good teacher. Unfortunately, that teacher is on maternity leave until February.
So what grade is she in?
Third.
Oh, God.
But she's the youngest third grader.
Okay.
Right? Because, she's September 1st is her birthday, and that's LAUSD.
That's the cutoff date. Well, these days, so many people are holding their kids back.
They kind of want the kid to feel confident.
Yeah.
Confidence is not a problem with Anthea. Mastering the skills?
Well, that'll come.
So, oh my God, somebody else was just pulled up. I am a loser father. Look at me, poo-pooing the ideas. God. I'm just surprised people have cash.
Right. They're not out there with the Zelle QR code.
Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't actually have like the app, the tap or the Apple Pay or.
That's like these days the Girl Scouts that they hang outside the grocery stores. Back in the day, it's like, oh, sorry, I don't have any cash. It's like now they're like, oh no, we can take Zelle.
Now the Girl Scout doesn't even have to be there. She could just have a computer out there and zoom in to the supermarket.
It's all self-checkout technocracy pretty soon here.
It's interesting what world she's going to grow up in. I do have a theory about this song, but I think we should start the episode.
All right, let's start the episode. Welcome back, everyone. It's time to go inside the birdhouse with Lewis and Sean. My name is Sean.
My name is Lewis.
Today we are up to, is it track 8?
It might be 9? It's 9.
Track 9.
The last track on side 1. If this was an album.
Nothing's Gonna Change My Clothes. Originally titled, apparently Nothing's Going to Change My Clothes. The only real info they had kind of about the song was that they felt like it was a reference to the Beatles song Across the Universe. Line, nothing's gonna change my world. All right, you got a theory on this song. Let's hear it.
I'm scared that I'm right, so I don't want to be right. But I think it's the apocalypse has happened, and this guy is just sort of out, and he's realizing like, oh yeah, everybody's dead. They've all melted.
Yeah.
And nothing smells like a rose because there are all these dead bodies,
right.
Dead bodies everywhere. But nothing's going to change my clothes ever anymore because there are no clothes or no reason to change. Or
yeah.
That's my approach. But I don't want it to be true.
Here's my theory on this song, because this is a Linnell song.
At first, I felt like it was a Flansburgh song. And then the more I listened to it, I'm like, oh, it's poppy. Yeah. There's some low notes.
It's Linnell. We've had a run of Flansburgh songs up. This is the first since Don't Let's Start.
I love how this one is not weird enough to be a Flansburgh song.
Right.
This is their not weird.
This is their not weird song. It's very popular because on the They Might Be Giants wiki, people can rate the songs. This song is very highly rated. It's rated in the 30s. Obviously, there's a lot of references to death in this song. He does sing songs about death a lot. he has a weird fascination, I think, because it's not that there are other songs later about how we venerate the dead through funerals. We will do weird things like open casket funerals. Like,
Right.
why would we do that? What's the point of seeing the dead body and how we weirdly display the dead sometimes?
But Linnell is very non-sentimental. That's what makes him such an amazing observer of these feelings and the assumptions we make about the world.
To me, the nothing's going to change my clothes. When somebody dies, we'll put them in a man a nice suit or a woman a nice dress. They're going in the ground. Why do we dress them up? Once you're in the ground, you're never changing your clothes again.
Dan Borsis lost his mom.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier this week. And so I went over there on Wednesday just to hang out, talk with him.
Sure.
And he mentioned that both his mom and his dad were just kind of buried. They were put in their casket in the clothes they died in.
Yeah.
Or both of them. And that was apparently a request.
Recently, we buried my mother at sea. She was cremated, and we
did that for my dad.
We did it off of the cruise. We were on the Carnival. They don't let you just scatter them. You actually have to get a biodegradable urn, and you just toss the whole urn into the sea, and then they'll get scattered that way. But to me, I think the song, and I love your interpretation, trust me, because my interpretation, there are parts that don't necessarily fit, because there are references he makes to shiny marble dice. There are weird things we do when we display our dead sometimes.
The reason I wanted to even dive into the interpretations first, because typically we save that to the end. I just think that on the surface, again, this could just seem like a lot of weirdness. And what I wanted to do is throw that out there first and trust that when we go through the lyrics, we are going to have a more profound understanding of the song, like we always do. It always seems to go that way, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's start with perhaps one of the weirdest openings. All the people are so happy now, their heads are caving in, which again would support your proposal that it's a dead body in a coffin.
I was actually thinking of it from the people at the funeral. They're like crying, so they're like.
I'm glad. Then I'm glad they are snowman with protective rubber. That's to me. I was like thinking, if you're in the casket, you're basically going to melt away, right? I don't know what the rubber skin is, though.
Snowman is like a weird iconography for the band. You'll see in like a lot of their material, they have snowmen warming their hands over a fire. They clearly have a fascination with snowmen. I don't know if it's like creating something that is going to melt. Why do we create the effigy of a human just so that we can watch it die?
Well, it also means something to them because they grew up in Massachusetts, right? And that's another thing about Linnell. I think he visits his childhood a lot. We mentioned the Long Long Trailer in Everything Right Is Wrong Again.
Sure.
There's the allusions to the World Fair, which was 5.
Right.
So he definitely does connect to his childhood in
weird ways.
Yeah.
I think that it's mostly just a reference to what our skin basically is. Because later on in the song, he talks about the fleshy overcoat, right?
Right. I'm feeling you about the body in a coffin.
Yeah.
But every little thing's a domino that falls on different dots. Yeah. Domino, I mean, obviously the knocking things over. I mean, usually when you think of dominoes.
If you're talking about dominoes in the rally standpoint of lining them up to knock them over, the weird amount of time we spend
setting up something
just to watch it fall.
So you're saying the song is about the ephemeral.
We put in all this time, like they put makeup on the body.
Right.
Just so that all we're going to do is put it in the ground and it's never seen again. What is this weird fascination we have with that concept? And it's the same thing with dominoes, right? You'll spend hours setting up this rally just to knock it down, just to make it go away.
And crashes into everything that tries to make it stop.
Yeah.
Every other song we've covered, as we've gone through the lyrics, everything is kind of snapped into place. Whether the interpretation is right or not, we felt like where I'm not feeling
I think there's a weird. The song is weird.
And the mirror it reflects a tiny dancing skeleton. Now, I could imagine a mirror in a coffin.
Right.
Like, if we're talking about things that are futile, a mirror in a coffin would be absolutely
the
futile.
most futile thing. Yeah, right.
Surrounded by a fleshy overcoat and swaddled in. And I get that. Like, the fleshy overcoat's the skin, and then swaddled is the clothes you put on.
And you're swaddled inside the coffin. Like, the coffins always have like satin.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's like,
all
and it's like, what does it matter?
Oh, yeah, who's
Why
that
are
for?
who is that for?
Are they comfortable?
Right. Yeah, it's a dead body. Like, how comfortable do we need to make this?
You know, that third verse feels more understandable to me. The second one about the dominoes, I'm still kind of not
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he has 4 verses
Yep.
before he starts the chorus.
Yeah.
That's, again, like classic They Might Be Giants. Like, no, I'm doing the structure I want.
We're going to get to points where they're all verses. There is no chorus. After they do all that, they just repeat it.
They repeat part of it, right?
Yeah, they don't repeat all 4 verses.
Then they go right back into the choruses again.
But we're at a furry hat, elastic mask, a pair of shiny marble dice. Some people call them snake eyes, but to me they look like mice.
Going with your coffin.
Yeah.
Furry hat, elastic mask, a pair of shiny marble dice. I can imagine that, you know, how people throw stuff into the coffin.
Oh, sure.
Maybe they threw this stuff into the coffin, but a furry hat could be hair. Elastic mask can be
The face.
face.
Well,
Marble dice, your eyes.
that's what I was thinking is, like, in a coffin, we don't necessarily put in like fake eyes and things like that. But the concept of taxidermy, you put these glass eyes on the things and, you know, they look like, people say they look like snake eyes, but to me they look like mice.
Like, hey, they look like snake eyes, but every time someone says snake eyes, they look like two little like a mouse looking at me.
Yeah, not a snake.
It sounds like a non sequitur, right? But as we've sort of discovered with a lot of other They Might Be Giant songs, non sequiturs are rare, like true non sequiturs. They're always wrapping these seemingly non sequitur lines into a bigger idea. Yeah. And again, it's like, as we mentioned, maybe they didn't start that way. Maybe they did start the line as something random, but they've worked it in
to something. Yeah. It's always easy to just be like, oh, well, they're just throwing words together, which maybe they were, but I think they're always a little bit deeper than that. You know, the Blank Check podcast, you familiar with that?
Yeah.
So right now they're doing the Coen brothers.
Okay.
And they find it really hard because the Coen brothers are like They Might Be Giants. They do not talk about their scripts. And when they do, they're just like, oh, no, it just sounded like something cool to say.
Obviously, it's
there's something
more
there. You know, there's something more there, but they're just one of those people that refuse to talk about the interpretations of their movies, of their art, you know. I'm 100% on the dead artist theory of art, that once the art is created, it's for the people to interpret. It's no longer the artist's possession.
Which is interesting because we're entering a world in which performers, creators are in constant dialogue with their audiences now. I'm wondering if that will change. Like, I'm wondering if, as musicians start making their albums on Twitch and authors are posting bits and pieces of their book as they're writing it and forming these communities that are all talking to each other, I'm wondering how that might change, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, not change your clothes, but change.
Right, exactly.
I'm getting off on another tangent. But so finally we get
to the chorus.
Get to the chorus, man. Why don't you read it for us?
And nothing's smelling like a rose, but I don't care if no one's coming up for air, because I know nothing's gonna change my clothes ever anymore.
So let me throw out a question to you. When he says, and nothing's smelling like a rose, but I don't care if no one's coming up for air, does he mean I don't care that nothing's smelling like a rose? Or does he mean that he doesn't care that no one's coming up for air? You can look at it two ways.
Right.
And nothing's smelling like a rose. I mean, again, your coffin thing.
Sure.
Closing body.
Yeah, I think it is. He's saying nothing's smelling like a rose, I don't care if nothing's smelling like a rose because no one's coming up for air.
Like, it doesn't matter if nothing smells like a rose.
Right.
because no one's coming up for air.
Yeah, because I know nothing's going to change my clothes ever
And it's
anymore.
interesting. He's not saying nothing's going to change my clothes. He says, because I know
Yeah.
nothing's going to change my clothes ever anymore. The condition of his clothes not changing, as you say, we're dead.
Right.
Nothing's going to change my clothes anymore. So it really doesn't matter if I'm whiffy.
All of this time and energy and money that we're putting into this weird veneration of this dead body doesn't matter, because in the end it's just going to be a rotting thing that has no anima, it has no opinion, it's just
Right.
there. And if it doesn't matter if it smells, because it doesn't smell itself, and it's the only thing that could smell it where it's going.
Linnell has this ability to create these interesting thoughts, like the long trailer thing, where it's a home, but it's not a home. And I feel like with this one, it's, oh yeah, when you're dead, the clothes that they put you in, that's what you're wearing forever.
Right. So why?
Right?
And
it's an interesting idea.
And it's weird the way we as humans think about that we think that they need to be dressed nicely. And it's like, for who? Who is this for?
And I think that idea was probably a lot stronger in the 80s, or even when he was growing up, the 60s,
Sure.
in Waspy, Massachusetts. Right?
Oh, of
You're like,
course. I don't know anything about the religious backgrounds of either one of them. But back in the 60s, you didn't cremate. It wasn't a thing you did. And there was much more of a prevalent thing to have open casket funerals. It's not as common these days. Even like the concept of going to a funeral is kind of a rarity these days, where you have the body in the even if it's not open, like having the casket on display at any kind of memorial is a weird thing.
yeah. So Dan's mom is, so oddly enough, his dad, passed away several years ago. And I was there when it lowered in. There were only 5 of us there. Most people just went to the ceremony, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Becky wasn't even there. His sister wasn't even there. It was just me, Dan, Maria, their cousin. But his mom is being put in a casket in the same plot. They're going to be on top of each other.
Oh,
in the
interesting.
exact same plot. Right?
Wow.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But again, it's closed. But still, it is a little odd that there's one plot.
One on top of each other.
There's a very practical, let's not buy 2 plots.
Sure.
Bury me in exactly what I die in. And it's funny because Dan's dad, he was an engineer and he had a very technical mind, and so
Yeah.
what I think is so interesting about now the song is that the rest of it is a repeat of all those lyrics.
Of the same, except the
truncated version of it.
right.
But the thing about the chorus is after the chorus, it has that fantastic deconstruction. The dun, 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 dun. And I was thinking to myself, it also, and I feel like this is true with some other They Might Be Giants song, and I'm having a complete blank right now, but they do this thing where they enter almost like a controlled chaos.
Sure. It's very
And then snap it back into something very familiar, right? They did an Everything Right Is Wrong again. Remember when it was kind of DC and weird and unmoored, but it never lost its ground.
It's form.
Right?
Yeah.
So like we were talking about like punk, it never goes full punk, right? It's just
Well, we were talking about like the concept of them being very popular with neurotypical people because they like to take chaos and then tie it back up together real fast. They love to let the song flow into chaos and then string it back together.
it's not even that chaotic, but it feels that way.
Well, because the song starts out, it is so very precise. It's simple music, and then nothing's gonna change my clothes ever anymore. Bum, 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 and then Eric goes right back. All the people are so happy now. You're right back in.
And then when it ends, and we hear that thing, and then you leave it.
Well, even before that, when he sings the chorus the first time, and then he goes, no, nothing. So, he comes in yelling the no.
What is that? Like that's, I guess, my question. It's like the screams, those guttural cries, which again, we mentioned, the song is very controlled. And yet we have these screams. We have these no's. I mean, unless he's being buried alive, which
Right.
maybe that's what's happening. It is Linnell.
It's true. This could be just a nightmare of his about being buried alive. You can look at it from a kind of cursory, very like, these are kind of the explosions that of emotions that people have at funerals. How many people pass away? You're like, no,
Right,
no,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and how he turns that, he goes from no, nothing smelling like a rose. Like that's where he goes from the no,
That's right, because N-O is the beginning of nothing. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, nothing smelling.
like a rose.
Oh, I love it. I think it happened now. We entered this episode, me worried that it wasn't going to click for me. But now that we're coming to the end, I feel something's clicked. I still,
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dominoes verse is still very elusive to me.
Because I don't know that there is no real true interpretation of any of these songs. A lot of mine is wrapped up in the idea that I know that there are other songs he writes about this very thing. There's a song on Factory Showroom called Exquisite Dead Guy, right? And it's very specifically about, how am I supposed to let you know the way I feel about you? Like this, we put this guy in a display case, this exquisite dead guy. How we display our dead in weird ways sometimes. This weird Western, almost every other, they always burned their dead. Most other civilizations, they didn't bury them, they would burn them because what's the point?
Unless you are a powerful figure.
They would build pyramids as a way to celebrate this thing that's just going to be in the ground.
They believe that there is going to be an afterlife and that body does have to be preserved so that, but the thing is that was only done for rich people. It wasn't like the fishermen.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't like a graveyard in like ancient Egypt because you need to get rid of them. Because they rot and they smell. You would rather remember your loved one in this like fantastically dramatic pyre of fire than watching them just rot.
You look at like medieval, like in the medieval times type of situation where the poor people's bodies would just be piled up in the street because they didn't have anything else to do with them. People have been burying bodies in weird tombs and stuff for centuries, but that it bled down to kind of the oddly middle class in America, like the way that the entire death industry, the thousands of dollars that we spend on the industry just so that we can prepare our dead to lay in the ground.
The death industry. I mean, of course. That concept I've realized that concept before, but it strikes me now. Yeah, it's the death industry that he's hitting right in this. The other thought I thought was interesting is we're talking about funeral practices and burying the dead and everything. I'm sure that when they first started burying people, and the reason they put them so deep underground is because the body rots and they don't want their topsoil and water, all that kind of stuff, But then they found out that when they do that and they don't put it in a box, people could get sick.
For generations, people would just bury their dead on their farm, right?
Right.
They would have like a thing.
Or their golf course.
Right. Well, sure. It's a beautiful golf course. But, going to the death industry, they changed laws. You can't do that anymore. You have to have your bodies buried in a specific area. Now we can charge you more money because you can't just do it yourself.
When my father died too, I was glad that there were sort of options, right? Like I was afraid that my mom and my brother were going to be hit by this, but I was going to get hit by this bill. There was some money left to obviously treat him right, but again, it was like they did kind of the least expensive thing, and it wasn't prohibitive. And I'm wondering if, as people become less sentimental about the ceremony of death,
yeah,
we're going to see more of this stuff. It's
absolutely. Like actually, my father my mother, my mother's husband, they've all been cremated. Whether you believe in the concept of the soul or not doesn't really matter. When the person's dead, the body's just a pile of flesh. So why do we venerate this pile of flesh? Just not the person. I remember the first time I went to an open casket funeral. So a kid I went to high school with died like his second year in college, died, had a nasty skateboarding accident.
Oh God.
And they had the funeral back in the hometown, back in Indio. And they had open casket. At the time I was dating Blanche, and she was like, well, because I wasn't going to go look at the body. And I did it. And she goes, are you okay? I said, yeah, because that's not him. You can just look at the body and it's just not, there's no spark.
Right. Yeah.
There's whatever you want to call that. When you look at a person who's alive, there's a glow, there's an aura, there's something behind the eyes. And once that's gone, it's not the person anymore.
Well, and then unless you cremate them, your head caves in.
Yeah.
Melt like a snowman.
Right.
You dance like a skeleton. You have a fleshy overcoat.
Yeah.
It's like you basically.
Yeah, this is what happens to the body.
This is what happens when you don't cremate, right?
Yep.
So I've never been to an open casket funeral. I've been to very few funerals, actually. One would assume that as you get older, you're going to go to more and more. But
I didn't go. But when my grandfather died, that was 40 years ago, something like that. They had a viewing of the body. It wasn't part of the funeral itself. And my grandfather had a amazing comb over his whole life. In fact, to the point that I always thought he had hair. My other grandfather, he had the ring of hair around the side, but he was bald. But my grandfather, my mom's dad, he always had hair on top of his head. And one day he fell asleep on the we were watching TV, and he kind of fell asleep on the ground, and the comb over flopped off. And I was like, what the hell? But apparently at the viewing, they cut it. They cut the comb over.
So he was bald.
So he was bald. And my dad, I remember my dad going, that's not Frank. This is not, this isn't his fault, my mom's dad. Knowing that this man always had the classic Brill cream comb. He had a great one too. Like I said, I had no idea it was bald. I mean, he had done such an amazing job with this comb over. Those are the weird things. Why would you think that that's not the way he would want to be buried? You've got him in this fancy suit, but then you cut the comb over, which clearly meant a lot to him because he spent a lot of time dealing with this. Those sorts of things, I think, are becoming more and more out of favor because it costs a lot of money. To have your loved one cremated costs a hell of a lot less than having to get a coffin. And
we're living in a world in which money is probably going to become scarcer and scarcer.
Sure.
Imagine anybody going, oh yeah,
I know just based on other songs that he has this fascination with the concept of what we do with our dead.
Death in general.
Well, he definitely has a thing about death, but I think but he also has this, and I think it is a weird thing we do. We do weird things with our dead and there's a $1 billion industry around the concept that we have a weird thing about our dead, which I get. You want to do everything you can, but when you start to think about it from a logical and not an emotional interpretation, it makes zero sense.
I don't know anybody who says, no, I really do want to be buried in a coffin.
Right. I mean, we didn't cremate my dad and my mom because that's what we wanted to do. That's what they wanted. They wanted it.
Because they also don't want to imagine themselves rotting in a box.
Sure.
I feel like you wrest the power back if you burned, right?
Right.
Great. I did that. I made that transformation happen, not the slog of biological decay.
The ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's come in as dust, we leave as dust. That's how it should be.
I love how we're talking a lot about bodies and coffins.
They do have a weird I know so far we've seen it mostly from Linnell's side, but they do have a weird fascination with death But that's artists in general, right?
Other than love, which is the happy thing to talk about, it is
Right.
the other thing that unifies all
It
humans.
is the one thing that we all have to go through. We all are going to die. So it's an existential thing that we all contemplate, on a constant basis.
Between love and death, it's like that's the only things ever explored in Irish poetry, right? It's like,
Right.
sometimes in the same poem.
Well, it's the Irish,
Yeah.
They're not particularly sentimental.
Or very sentimental.
Or right. But anything else you think I think we've torn it up pretty good.
Looking forward, again, according to the Wikipedia page, we're going to enter side 2 next time.
All right.
Which she was a hotel detective.
Yes. Again, one of my not favorite songs. This is one of the ones I actually very rarely listen to. It's a fun song, and it's got a cool saxophone part.
And like a lot of Flansburgh songs, it's a familiar style of all the ones he writes. So it seems to sort of evoke a kind of nostalgic style.
But until next week, thank you for joining us. My name is Sean.
My name is Louis.
And good night.
Good night.